Welcome to Talk to Me. Today's show is sponsored by Group Coaching and the Soulutionist Portal. Are you an entrepreneur looking for the keys to success? Look no further than the Soulutionist Portal, your gateway to success, knowledge, collaboration, and connections. It is time to take your business to the next level by immersing yourself in this empowering community of real people, having real lives, living real experiences. Join the Soulutionist Portal today by scanning the QR code or find a link in my bio anywhere on my social media connections. Today, we are going to talk about what is your it. Embrace the Triple S plan to chase it. All week, I've been talking about chase it on my social media platforms. And boy, oh boy, did I get a lot of input. So I'm going to have my friend Lisa join me as always. Come on in here, Lisa. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Brenda.
And on this Face It Friday, we're going to face it. People were talking about chase it. Brenda, what you talking about? And what in the world is the chase it effect? And as I began to answer the questions, I realized what they were talking about is the process I use, which is actually called the Triple S plan. And what is the Triple S plan, you may be asking, Lisa? It is a plan that you know well because you have a similar plan in your coaching program that's called something different. But we're going to talk about the Triple S plan today, and we'll weave in what you do and how it correlates with your GPS. Because what I have discovered in working with my clients is a lot of people are floundering in how they're doing their business. And I say it's simply because they don't use the Triple S plan. And before we start talking about it, I said, what is it? I'm going to show you. It is simply strategy, structure, and systems. And we're going to talk about that. But before we do, Lisa, how important do you believe strategy, structure, and systems are? And tell us about your GPS as well.
Wow, asking me that question just seems so odd coming from you. There is nothing more important than having structure in what you do. And I find that having the strategy, the structure, and the systems, regardless of what you call it, is critical because you have to have some map. You have to have that roadmap that's going to get you where you're going to go. And regardless of the roadmap you design, if you don't have a strategy, structure, or systems, or understand how to do it, that is just going to throw you off.
You know, Lisa, this week, what I chose for for me personally to talk, so I'd have one specific thing to talk about throughout the week, was building an email list. And what I was sharing with everyone is that the first step, even before you start the Triple S, is to focus. You have to have one area of focus because too many of us are trying to do 16 different things at once. I find it very useful when I'm working with people to get them to focus on one area, be it business, finances, your weight loss. Oh, by the way, today is National Keto Day for all of you keto and people out there. Happy Keto Day. But if you're working on your weight loss, your relationships with your significant other, your children, or your work relationships, the key is your spirituality. Whatever it is, I'm asking them to pick one point of focus, and let's go there. I chose emails list. Is there a it that you'd like to focus on today, Lisa?
Oh, the list is so long. I can only have one.
Just for today. Would you like to focus on email lists with me?
You know what? Let's focus on email lists because I think email lists are important for everybody. And since you and I both have a different way of looking at things, I think an email list is a perfect thing to talk about.
Okay, so we're going to start with the first. We've picked our focus. Our focus today is going to be email list. And so how do we apply that using the Triple S plan? Well, you first start off with your strategy. And what is the strategy? The strategy is your plan of action. You know, Lisa, both of us having a military background understand how to create strategy and what that means. But some people have no concept that in order to even get started in once you have gotten clear on your focus, to pick a strategy, which is, like I said, your plan of action, like creating lead magnets, promoting your opt-in list, collaborating with bloggers in the same niche, whatever it is, but you have to have a strategy. And that's some of the strategies that I use for the email list. And I talk about it fully in an article that I'm going to be posting on LinkedIn right after this broadcast. So, what do you think when it comes to strategy is an important part of it?
That's got to be the first. And I realize I say that being a strategical kind of person, but I think being coming from the strategic side and the strategic thinking concepts, I think for me, having that strategy stops you from going all over the map. So, for example, one of your strategies is creating a lead magnet. One of my first strategies is actually looking at my current community. You and I had talked the other day about LinkedIn and about how many followers we have and how many people we connect with, and we both have almost the same strategy as to how we determine who we connect with and who we don't connect with.
Mhm.
Well, that I think goes with everything in life, and especially in business. Understanding the reason behind what you do will help you get where you want to go. So for me, my strategy in creating a list always starts with looking at my community, because a lot of people connected with me because of business. They did not connect with me because of the personal side.
And when we're talking about building an email list, having a strategy is real important. Why I picked having a lead magnet is because people don't want to just give you that. They don't just go, "Oh, I think I like Brenda so much, I'm gonna give her my email so she can bombard my email with all these unnecessary whatever it is she's going to be sending." So people are more apt to give you their email when you give them something. Like I created a 5 steps to transformation flip book so that when people go to my website, they click on that, they give me their email, they get the book. When we first started, I did that and I was just giving the book away and I wasn't collecting emails. And
Yeah.
my business coach had a fit and you had a fit about that. Because, and the rationale for me behind that, in the beginning was, I don't like emails myself personally. So I didn't think everybody else did. What I didn't understand is if I want to connect with people and potentially build an audience that would be interested in the service or products I provided, I needed their email in order to be reaching out to them. So once I figured out how important emails was, I did create a lead magnet that allowed people to, excuse me, come to the site, get something for giving me their email, and then I could get connected with them. But Lisa, even with that, I still have a teamwork flip book on my website that does not require an email. That was just me saying, I still want to give you something, even if you don't give me your email. And I think that's something that a lot of us fail to really tap into is how do we develop the listing that's going to allow us to get more clients so that we can sell our products and service.
And I think that's actually a perfect example, because it really is when you offer value to somebody, they will give you your email address because that's the type of services they're looking for. Even if they're not looking to purchase right now, they value the information that you have to offer and they're looking for it because of the unique way that you do it. And giving something away on your website for free, such as team building. One of the things that you and I are both very good at is we're both very good at a diverse background of business items. And we think differently. Not only do you and I think differently, but I think we think a whole lot differently than the rest of the world with the way that we work and the way that we structure things and in our strategy and the way we do things. So it's nice when you create a lead magnet that has value, but you also know that that's not your main focus. So team building is important to you, but it's not your main focus on what you do for business. If they come into the portal, they'll be able to see team building things, but your focus is on the individual themselves, not on their team. But everything you do wraps around so that it encompasses the team. So it makes perfect sense that the team building one would be something that they don't get the email address for, because that's not something you deliver a lot of extra information on. But the tap in, you deliver a ton of information on, and the way that people can tap into it. So your strategy of why you do what you do was critical.
And it was important for me too, because that sense of if I'm going to ask people for their email, I also have a procedure that I don't bombard people's email inboxes because I don't like emails, even with all the understanding I have now about their value, I'm still not the biggest fan. So I want to make sure that when I send an email, that people want to open it because they know I'm not bombarding their box every 5 minutes with an email like a lot of people do. The other thing I do before we move to the next part of the triple F is I want to talk about OPP, other people's platforms. Are you down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. I love other people's platforms, Lisa, as a way to build my list. Every time I go on another podcast, or I do a collaborative Instagram live or Facebook or LinkedIn, or just join forces with someone else, that gives me exposure to someone else's audience, which then in turn, when they ask, and how do people get connected with you? They go to my website. That's a potential right there for me to grow my email list. And a lot of people overlook that. How are you about OPP?
I suck at it. We already know that. So 2024 is my year of implementation, so I'm working on getting better. You know, your platform's easy because you always do it for me, and so but I am working on it. I am working on getting better, and I think and I love the idea of other people's platforms because it really is. They're bringing you to their platform for a reason. They're opening their door to you because you add value to their clients. You add value to their audience. And if you add value, then why not? It only makes sense. And if you're not sure if you add value, one of my favorite things, and if you've got AI, they just made it a million times easier, are the SMART goals. So I'm all about frameworks. I love frameworks when I do things. But go to the SMART goals, and you can use AI and tell them what you do and say, create SMART goals for me. But that's your specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound items, and find out what you offering, and find out if the strategy you just came up with fits within the SMART goals.
And Lisa, I think that's important too. We talk about the SMART goals for people when you're in this section of the strategy, because you have to have a specific it that you want to accomplish. You need to have a way to measure that you're actually heading towards it. Is it even achievable? And is it relevant? Something like, what is it? AskThePublic.com can let you know if what your it is, what other people are asking about it. So you don't spend a lot of time doing something that you want to do, but nobody cares about. I remember when we first started, Lisa, how we had all these great ideas about different stuff, and only to find out nobody cared about that. And so we had to begin to readdress and reshift how we did and what we did, so that we were putting out the information that people really were concerned and wanted and were Googling to get, so that we would be more relevant, and making sure it was time bound, so that when you do focus on and you're chasing it, what's your time limit for that? For me, right now, I'm working on losing weight. I set a 6-month goal for myself of saying I wanted to be at a certain weight in 6 months. So now I have a goal, I have a date, I made it specific, it's measurable, so I can tell what I'm doing. And that's important to move forward in that. I also think I want to go back to the OPP part really briefly. And for those of you that are listening and may see it on the hear it on the replay or see it, I cannot stress the importance of not showing up to someone else's platform empty-handed. So many people go to get when you should go to other people's platform to give. That's a good way to build your email list, because if you have an offer that you can discount, or you have a lead magnet that you can share that brings value, and you're giving it to their audience, number one, you just basically gifted your host something special just for their audience. People like that. Have you ever been to somebody's home and you just, for the first time, you don't show up with like wine or flowers or something? Normally people show up with a gift. So when you go to other people's platform, bring something of value besides yourself. And if you want to add to your email list, bring something that people can opt into, download, or partake in, so that it's of value to them, that is free of charge to get your email list. What do you think about that, Lisa?
I totally agree. And understanding the strategy in that and understanding the why that's important, you just covered it 100%. And since we're on the strategy aspect, it's always important to have a strategy when you go onto other people's platforms. And part of that strategy is what you're bringing.
I never go empty handed. I always have some kind of giveaway so that I'm adding value to my it's also a way of saying thank you for sharing your audience with me. So be mindful, always be grateful, and don't show up empty handed. Our next step in the Triple S project, project planning for planning, Lisa, is my favorite structure. It is your framework for action. Hey, Lisa, did you notice that each of these things have one of your favorite words in it? Action. Having a framework for your action is crucial to making sure you can make things happen. You do that by creating a daily or weekly schedule, creating reminders for yourself, being able to track your progress. That's what I mean by having a structure. What is the thing that makes the action plan that you've established have a way of taking place? You want to have a structure that allows it to function. Lisa?
Well, and I also have structures in the different things that I create. And so a structure can be also something as simple as a template. And because structure covers a whole bunch of things in this triple S. And one of the things that I love about structure is it makes your life so much easier. It's kind of like stairs. If you have a bunch of stairs and two of your stairs are missing, you have to jump over and potentially hurt yourself in the process. So think of a structure as something like a staircase. What do you need and how do you need it set up? So creating that daily schedule, I just this year I actually changed part of my morning routine because I realized part of my routine was not serving me well. So I adjusted it to make it serve me a little bit better because we learn. So create either a daily routine or whatever structure it is that you need in order to get the stuff done and get the things accomplished. Because a lot of times, if we don't have structure, we can use blocking as an example on your schedule. So you block out 2 hours to do whatever task it is you want to do. If you didn't block out those 2 hours, would you still get it done? And I think that that's what's important when you think about having the structure in your day, the structure in your work. And then also part of your structure, believe it or not, is a time to end your day.
We both struggle with that one. But as it in while we're still on the structure part, while as it relates to emails, I have structured in my day a time to develop my email list. I pick a time that I create my emails, that I look for ways to promote my lead magnets, etc. By having a set time every day that I do, like I now check my emails in the end of the day. I don't start my day checking emails. And the reason I personally don't do it is that I realize that when I check my emails early, I'm usually taking on other people's activities. So for me, I check it at the end of the day. That way I know my stuff is done. And then whatever's in that email, I can do at the end because I've set aside time at the end of the day to take care of what I call other people issues because they're not mine. You know how we'll get caught up and somebody say, I need you to do this, or they want us to do that. And then you're off on a rabbit hole doing something that was not even part of your plans of your day. So for me, I check my emails at the end of the day. I know you have a different procedure for yours. How about you?
I do. I actually have to check mine in the morning and also at the end of the day. Because for me, even though it's true, it's other people's work in most cases. For me, I'll hyperventilate if I don't check my email twice a day.
And again, that's important to know because one of the things we talk about in Soulutionist Portal is doing business your way. You have to know yourself. Part of chasing it is knowing what you want to chase and then how you plan to chase it. Because for me, emails are like the bane of my existence. So if I can find a way to put it off till what freezes over, I'm going to do that. And I'm fortunate that although that's not the norm for most people, it works for me. So what I encourage you, don't mean you have to check yours at the end of the day. But if you are a business that relies on emails to get your product or services sold, you might want to check them things first thing in the morning because you have customers that are waiting on you. My business doesn't run that way. So I currently can definitely wait until the end of the day to check my structure is I get up in the morning, I do my exercise, meditate, pray, do all the stuff that I'm going to do for me. And then I get done the things I say I need to get done. And at the end of the day, somewhere around 3 o'clock, I will start checking emails if I check them at all. Yeah, I said if because I'm being honest. Some days I don't even check them, y'all. That's why y'all may not hear from me for 2-3 weeks, but I eventually get to it. I'm gonna have to work on that in 2024, Lisa.
Oh yeah, you do, because she even ignores my emails unless I text her. So we're not even gonna lie on that. And one of the tips as part of my structure for my emails when I'm checking them in the morning and in the evening, in the morning, I look at the subject line. I don't look at
Mm.
who it's from. I look at the subject line. If the subject line is not something that I'm going to deal with right then and there, I will leave that unopened. I'll look over to the left to see who it's from. But for the most part, the subject line tells me whether or not I'm going to open it. If it's something that I know is going to require a great deal of work, I will not open that email until the afternoon. Because why go through the trouble of opening the email, reading it, and then thinking about it throughout the day if I know it's a time-consuming action? And most people, when you get emails, you know just by the subject line whether or not that's an email that's going to require a lot of work. And if it's going to require a lot of work and it's not immediate, I will wait till the end of the day to look at that.
Now that's a good one. I might have to incorporate that into my thought process when I'm looking, because for me, any email is a lot of work. So I'm gonna have to work on that one. Our final step in the triple S process, Lisa, is systems. That is your procedures for your actions. You know, so many people don't have standard operating procedures. They are doing stuff. They have never heard of the term rinse and repeat. If I could stress anything here, I would say create systems. I loved in the military, I always knew what I had to do, why I had to do it, when I had to do it, because my SOP was very clear. You do this, you do it this way, and you do it at this time. There was there was just no ambiguity. Is that ambiguity? Is that the right word? How you say it?
Ambiguity. Yep.
Thank you. I won't even try to repeat it again. Anyway, I was clear on what I had to do, when I had to do it, and what was required to do it. So having clear systems in place is really important. And when it comes to email, I choose to figure out how I can automate that by having a service called MailChimp. There are other services. What's Do you use something different, Lisa? Or I'm trying to think. It's something Connect. I can't even think of it because my mind. I just drew a blank. But
Yeah,
whatever.
no, I have 5 or 6 different ones, and I haven't used
Yeah.
any of them yet. I actually have not implemented them, which is a scary thought process because for me, I'm at that point where I'm still pulling up the Excel sheets and sending them.
Mhm. And you know, Lisa, what was funny when we first started out, I literally was sending out individual emails because I did not know about Mailchimp or Constant Connect, I think it is, or the other services that allow you to send your emails out in bulk. You do one little lead generation magnet or one email, and it goes out to anybody and everybody you wanted to that's on your list. And that's also a way to grow your list by sending it out and asking people that you already have their emails to let other people know about you. But you have to have a system established that allows you to do that in order to grow your list, which is in turn going to help you get in front of more people, which has the potential of getting you more clients. How
Yeah,
important are systems in what you do with your clients?
systems are critically important. If I want someone to take action, if I don't have a system in place and haven't devised action steps for them to take, then it's not going to get done because people can get so overwhelmed with everything. You know, it's kind of like breathing. And I use that phrase a lot. It's kind of like breathing. But that's what systems are designed for. It's designed to set you up on routines that you can do so easily, just like you breathe. It's very natural for you to do. And in the military, standard operating procedures, SOPs, were all over the place. There
Mhm.
wasn't a unit that I went to that we did not have standard operating procedures for every task that we did. And I was in awards and decorations. And if we did not have standard procedures on how to process a decoration, that
Mhm.
would have been a problem because you had so many layers you had to go to. Each command did things a little bit differently. So having those in your business can really be of great benefit. But the other thing having a system in place can do, it can help you find the programs that you need or want to incorporate. Like you said, Constant Contact is one, MailChimp is another. Those are mail systems. Vista Social is a good one for social media. As you put systems in place, finding programs to incorporate become much better, and it helps you become a lot more productive, because really when you talk about establishing systems, that's the important part, putting them in place to make your life easier, because that's what it's all about. It's about productivity, it's about action, it's about all of that encompassing. You know, a lot of people, especially when they're doing their social media, I'm going to use this as an example because I just had a conversation the other day about it. Someone was so overwhelmed with creating their social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, how do you do it? Well, the very first thing they do is sit down in the morning to try to figure out what they're going to do.
That morning of.
The morning up.
I used to do that.
Yeah, you did, which is why I knew the advice to give this person, because
Mm-hmm.
I used to think it was weird, but you did it. So I thought, okay, well, there are people out there like Brenda.
Mm-hmm.
But my response was, have you ever went on to National Today or one of the calendar things that talk about what the day of is?
Mm-hmm.
Did you outline, because my system is I actually outline what I'm going to do based on whether I'm going to do something interactive, whether I'm going to do a quiz, a poll, whether I'm going to do something to motivate, behind the scenes, whatever it is I happen to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Once you put that structure in place, even if you wait until the morning of to create it because that's when your inspiration is and you want it to be right then and there, you pull it straight from the list that you have of your different options, and it gives you a whole slew of opportunities at that point.
You know what, Lisa, too, I think the reason a lot of folks don't have systems is because they don't realize a system can be as simple as having a checklist. One of the things I did for my strategy calls was I started to notice there were some similarities of things that were being discussed when I talked to my clients. My strategy calls are now so streamlined. I can get a lot in with someone in a 30-minute or an hour long strategy call because I have a checklist that goes by that literally says, okay, when you do the call, it says how I start with how I book the call, setting up my time, writing it on my calendar, what I do, what research I need to do before I talk to the person, what information I need. And I go and I check all those things off. And then when I'm on the call, I have my checklist with me so that I can make sure I ask some specific questions that are needed. I write those questions out because they're unique to each individual, but I have a space that there's some specific questions that are standard for everybody, no matter what. And then there are questions that I need to ask based on the form they filled out to take the strategy call. But by having all that written out before I go, I can go right down my checklist. I can be concise, be productive, and add a lot of value for the time that they're paying for that strategy call. We can get a lot done. And I'm happy to say that a lot of people that have taken my strategy calls often compliment me for the way I'm able to move right through it and give them so much in so little time. So your system can be as simple as a checklist. It can be written out. It can be something you put on your smartphone. It can be on your computer. It can be whatever you choose, but a system doesn't have to be elaborate. It can just be something small that is a cue for you to keep stuff in order, that's organized and that makes you better productive.
And I agree. I use, because I do my strategy sessions in 15-minute windows. You've got 15 minutes with me, and that's all. So we better get a lot done for you to be able to take action in that 15 minutes. And those checklists are so beneficial.
Now, what I want to stress to everybody, although we used emails as a focus just to kind of give you a taste of what the triple S is, I want to remind you that the triple S is simply strategy, structure, and systems. That means that for your strategy phase, you need to do your action plan. What is your plan of action to get the it that you're chasing accomplished? For your structure, that's your framework for your action. What are you going to do daily, weekly, monthly? How are you going to track it? You do this within your framework, in your framework of action. That's where you do this at. And then finally, your systems. What are the procedures for your action? What procedures are you going to put in place to make sure that you can handle the it that you are chasing? So many of us are chasing different things, and I encourage you all to chase as much as possible, but do it in a way that you have a clear strategy, structure, and system that'll make you be able to chase your it with ease and get it accomplished so you can move on to the next thing that you need to do. And if you need help doing that, Convene Communities, my life community, is free for you to enter. Our programs are hosted on Convene Communities. It's free to the public to come on in there. It is where entrepreneurs can leverage an impact. And inside that community is where my paid group is, the Soulutionist Portal. It's only $97 a month right now for the first 150 people, because these are the founders that are going to be helping me build this group. We have a lot of things in store for you there. And you can scan the QR code to get more information about that. There's a lot going on out here, Lisa, and I'm encouraging people. Each week there's a different theme to what we're doing on all my social medias. And this week was the week of it. What is it for you? Maybe different than what is it for Lisa, what is it for me. But the key is, if you would apply the triple S to whatever it is, I'm sure you can create a strategy, a structure, and a system to make you successful. You have any closing thoughts, Lisa?
You know, even if you just start so slow, even if you just start with the strategy, forget about the structure and the system for a couple of days. Start with the strategy and then incorporate the structure and then incorporate the system. It will change. You'll notice a big difference in your productivity.
Well, you can find out more about this by joining the Soulutionist Portal, or you can go check out my website, brendathesolutionist.com, under the program section. That's where you get that information. There's a blog that is covering this subject right there that's already been posted. And I'm about to post this on LinkedIn as well. It's called Embrace Triple S, Plan to Chase It. And it is different for each and every one of us. And I want you to embrace it, whatever it is for you. Remember, the choices you make today will be the reality you live tomorrow. So choose wisely and choose to chase your it. Be blessed.